Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Disruptive Minds. Today I'm really excited to be talking a little bit about SEO, especially local SEO, which if you're not doing as a small business, you're really missing out. Today I'm joined by Mac. You are listening to the Disruptive Minds podcast, home of the entrepreneur. Hi Mac, how's it going?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Cool. Could you give people a little bit of oversight about your background and what you do at Momentum Digital?
Yeah. So Momentum's a marketing agency to help small businesses grow. We've been around for almost 10 years now. Before this, I went to Penn State, got recruited by Google right out of college, went to work for Google in the search department for 2 years, about a year and a half before I started this agency on the side. I can get into that whole background, but yeah, started this agency about 10 years ago. And I've grown into a decent sized company at this point, and we work with a lot of small businesses looking to grow online.
Yeah. Today I really want to focus in on that, local SEO component because, we deal with a lot of small businesses, warehouses have physical locations, trucking companies have physical terminals, right? And I think this is an area that a lot of people overlook because they're, so worried about their Google ad strategy. They're so worried about their social medias. And, that Google profile is really a powerful tool.
Yeah, I mean, the best way to look at it is it's just free marketing and exposure. All these other channels you have to pay to play, and it can get really expensive and it can be confusing and difficult. So like Google Ads especially, a lot of people waste tons of money there, and that's what, drives all of Google's revenue. But they have these free platforms like the Google Business Profile, which has been kind of pivoted and renamed over the years, and there used to be an app you could use on your smartphone, but that profile, I mean, that's the bread and butter for a lot of clients that we work with, especially if you provide a local service and it's something that people could Google on a local level. You can make a lot of money and get a lot of like free awareness from it.
Yeah, that's the big thing is a lot of people, they put all this effort and time in their Facebook page or their LinkedIn page, or all that, but there's not that many people just putting that into Google, like let me go check out CNR Trucking's Google page, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Facebook page, right? But if you just search CNR Trucking, boom, there's that Google profile, right? So there's thousands and thousands of people seeing these things at scale.
Yeah. I mean, another way to think about it too is if you're considering hiring a trucking company or a 3PL or like a warehouse or working with somebody specifically, a lot of times the people, making that decision might actually Google that business's name where they can see more and learn more about them. And one of the first things they'll see is that Google Business Profile with the reviews. So it's kind of like an added trust factor as well as like a search engine opportunity. So people definitely want to make sure their profile is updated with accurate information, with services and keywords, but also like posts and updates and tons of like good reviews.
Yeah, so you just hit on reviews, which everyone knows is like huge, right? That's really a huge motivating factor for a lot of people when they choose the business that they choose to go with. But there's these other parts of the Google Business Profile that you kind of hit on there. What are the other parts, and what's some good strategies to making sure that you have all those bases covered?
Really, it's just one of those common platforms where you build out a little informational hub, call it like a bio, if you will, for the business. And the best way to use it is to fill everything out, to answer every question and every opportunity, every field. So it's going to have the main three things are like your name, address, and phone number. If you don't have an actual physical address, you can still have a profile where you can be a service area business. So you don't have an address listed and you provide services to different areas. So you can put like zip codes and cities and counties and whatever. But then you can have, hours of operation, a business description with 750 characters. You can add services in like little descriptions of each service, or if you have products that you sell, you can list your products with pricing and or descriptions there. You can also have like a logo and a cover photo and a bunch of images you can upload directly from your phone through Google Maps. And then there's like more attributes about the business. You could link your social media profiles. You could have, how the business is represented. Like if you have parking, if you're military, if you have special hours, there's all these other fields you can fill out, which aren't as relevant, but Google likes to see that like you're updating the profile with as much information as possible, and then consistently updating it, which I say on a weekly basis. So like adding photos or trying to get more reviews.
Yeah, that Google just loves to see more information, right? More
Hmm.
stuff, the better. But it's important that that stuff is also relevant, right? Because you want good, high quality information. And one of the things you just hit on there, which I think you could do an entire video on, and I think it would be huge on YouTube, the idea of those service area based businesses. I didn't know
Yeah.
that you could, like service area, right? Like that's big for trucking
Mhm.
companies, right? That's big
Sure.
for, last mile delivery. Like I didn't know that's something you could do. Is that something that's like newer, or how's that service area thing?
Well, the problem is if you're, let's say, one business, whether it's an LLC, sole proprietor, C Corp, S Corp, whatever, you can't have multiple profiles. So if you're a trucking company and you actually have a hub or a station where you have a commercial address, technically you're only supposed to have that one profile. Now, a lot of service area businesses are trying to game the system, as you might call it. Let's say you're a locksmith and you have like a small store in Philadelphia. So a lot of these locksmiths or roofers or garage door repair companies, they try to game the system and create profiles all over Pennsylvania and then sub out work to get calls from each of those profiles and then sub it to a local contractor and just like drive up calls and revenue that way. So you can't do that anymore. Google's really cracking down if you don't have a commercial address. They want you to verify the profile, and they're suspending hundreds of profiles every day based on the algorithm update. So if you've ever used a residential address in your profile, it's likely you will get suspended, in the future. And so if you're a service area business, a lot of them would put their residential address, like their home address. And you used to be able to do that in the past where they would actually mail you a postcard. And since it's residential, of course, you can get the postcard, put in the little code, verify the profile. All of that's out the window. So if you're creating a new profile these days, I would recommend, for one, using a top level domain instead of a Gmail. So an info@abctrucking.com for one, and then
Mhm.
not using your cell phone for the business phone number. Use like a third party auto, dialer system, or like getting a separate number for the business. And then whatever name you put for the business, make sure it matches your actual corporate documents, because all these things, like Google is, a huge machine. So, it's not some individual person who lives in India reviewing all these profiles. It's a machine reviewing these profiles. And so if you try to game the system, Google's going to catch you either now or later. So just setting it up correctly from the beginning is the best way to go about it. Using a commercial address, you'll typically have much less issues because Google Street View, their cars that drive around autonomously, have mapped most of the world, but definitely the United States, so they know what's residential versus commercial. You won't have a real issue if you're a commercial business doing business at a commercial address. If you create a Google business profile with a commercial address where you actually run a business with a commercial address, like a trucking company or a retail store or whatever, you'll be fine. It's a lot of the businesses trying to use a home address or no address at all that are getting caught in this suspension kind of predicament.
Yeah, I think one of the things you mentioned there is the speed at which Google operates now, right?
Mhm.
Because it's a machine, right? It's got all these machine learning algorithms, all the big data, all everything there. And it's, 10 years ago, it might have been some guy sitting there physically verifying the page, right? The Street View car used to come by once every, 5 years, right? And it just seems like things are getting quicker, right? Things are
Mhm.
getting more and more automated. The Street View car comes by my house at least once a year now, right?
Uh-huh.
Google's just getting quicker and faster, and they're changing policies on a monthly basis. So being able to adapt is a huge thing, right?
Yeah, and I mean the suspension issue, I mean we get calls about that all the time. We're probably one of the top 3 providers in the country that are like the suspension experts and do verifications and reinstatements and appeals and things like that. But, people are like, why is this happening? Like, what's the reason for this? Like, some people are literally having to close their business because they generate so much of their business from that free Google profile. So it's devastating to a lot of local service providers like roofers, garage door locksmith, whatever. But I mean, Google's really doing it for two reasons. It's an AI-based local search algorithm that syncs with Google Maps, where they're trying to weed out the bad players. And a lot of the bad players historically have used multiple profiles and multiple home addresses, and they're just trying to dominate that local search ranking within various cities where they actually don't have a location. But, at the same time, by doing this AI update, and all these people that historically got all this business for free from Google Maps, now they've got to advertise. Now they've got to run ads with Google. So they're weeding out the bad players and making sure everybody's legit while also increasing their ad revenue.
Yeah, it really aligns those two incentives, right? It lets them, have higher quality search results, but, it also helps that it pads their pocket a little bit, right? And, whenever you can improve the product and make more money, that's what a business is going to do. And Google's no different, right? And if anything, they're more motivated than most businesses do.
Yeah. If you check out Google's quarterly earnings report, where they're beating their quarterly earnings every quarter, but if you look at their increased revenue channels, YouTube, really big now. And it's really just based on the demand. Like, imagine how much YouTube's watched now and consumed now, as opposed to a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. I mean, YouTube just had their 20-year anniversary, which, I don't know. To me, I feel like it's been around longer than that, but 20 years is also a long time in the tech space. I consume YouTube probably more than any other social channel. And so their ad teams, their ad buy teams are really pushing a lot of brands on YouTube, because the cost per impression, the cost per click is much lower, but the demand is still so much there, more than anything else. And their second ad channel that's crushing it right now, if you're a local service provider, it's tends to work a lot better than regular search ads, which are kind of getting cannibalized by their own AI updates and AI search results. But there's something called Google Guaranteed, also known as Google Local Service Ads. So if you're a local service provider, a painter, a contractor, dentist, chiropractor, whatever, you can pay per lead instead of pay per click. So Google's always been pay per click, and now it's pay per lead for certain service providers, which is really cool. And Google's just driving a ton of revenue now.
Yeah, they've been really pushing the pay per lead thing, but I kind of want to go back to the YouTube thing, because it's really interesting when you think about how much supply there actually is on the YouTube end, right? And this thing's like infinitely expanding, right? And even before the whole shorts thing, like 3-4 years ago, I had a full-time team that was producing content, and we were getting one video out a week. Today, I don't have a team, and I can get a video out within 6-7 hours of shooting it, and do that entirely myself using AI editing tools and doing it myself. And it's amazing how much more content even we are able to put out versus like a year ago, right? So like now, I think we put out, we're 40-50 videos in already this year, and our channel's only 180 videos.
I mean, you could literally just record 10 seconds on your phone of anything you see throughout the day and upload it directly to YouTube as a YouTube short. Or what I do is I make a lot of like training videos or how-to type of marketing videos using Loom, and just record myself and do no edits whatsoever, and just upload it with a thumbnail. So, I mean, it is getting a lot easier, and a lot of people are flocking to YouTube because of the AdSense revenue that creators can get. TikTok and Instagram have since copied them in those ways, but it's still the best paid platform for creators that just like put out long form, but also now short form content. So, I mean, I love the platform. I just did a search. 1 billion hours of video are watched per day on YouTube.
Wow.
1 billion.
I'm excited for the whatchamacallit. We're coming up on our 2 millionth view.
Oh, really? For your channel?
Yeah, we're coming up on the 2 millionth. So that's going to be the big celebration here, probably within the next month or so. That's
really good. You must put out a lot of content.
Miles. Yeah, well, like I said, I've been cranking it up, and I've been really doubling down on the guests.
You've doubled me. I just hit my 1,000,000th view.
Yeah, I saw that the other day, and I was excited for you. So, but basically, these are all areas that businesses should be looking into, because things are changing, right? And I think, especially for a local business, right, to get that Google profile nailed down, but then also get involved in some of this content marketing. I'm seeing more and more small roofing companies, plumbers, right, becoming like pseudo influencers, right? Like the amount of guys I see, I'm going to change this ball valve, right? And they come up on like your YouTube search algorithm and you're like, wow, like this is something that like a small plumber in Missouri can do. And it's actually
Hmm.
going to help them get business. And like you said, now with Google, you can advertise in like a set area. Why not, put up a video or two of those like plumbing repairs or the roofing repair or whatever and drum up some business from it.
Especially if it's a service you offer that can maybe be more of a national service just based on like the scope of people using YouTube. It's a lot less local search for sure. But, if you're a roofer, but also sell roofing products and you make a bunch of YouTube videos, I mean, you could increase different revenue, ways to bring in revenue to the business. But yeah, I think YouTube as just being the second biggest search engine, a lot more small businesses need to leverage it as well as social media.
Yeah, well, that's the big one for the 3PL space. Is you see a lot of 3PLs are continually discovering Chat GPT, right? So they're all
Mhm.
writing the same articles, they're all putting out the same duplicate content. And one of the things that I like to do, and giving away a little bit of magic tricks here, is record some content, take that transcript and throw it into Chat GPT. And now you have a completely original article, original thought. And it all started with some video that you recorded of yourself and just took the transcript. Sometimes I don't even post the video. I'll just use it to write, my article, because it's easier for me to get on here and riff for 4 minutes, take that transcript and write an original thought using it.
100%. I mean, you could just edit the transcript and
Yeah.
maybe teach like a virtual assistant how to edit it to like take out the pauses or the stuff that's like not as relevant.
Yeah. But there's all different kinds of ways to do this, and the Google's putting out more and more tools all the time, and there's ways you can reach more people. So, Mac, why would somebody want to work with an agency versus manage their Google profile themselves?
Honestly, like the best way I could answer that is just like anything else. You could learn how to, you know, get your oil, like change your own oil or fix your own plumbing issue or whatever the case might be. But like, how much is your time worth? And is it worth it for you to learn this and do it yourself consistently? Or is your time better spent running your business and like managing employees and managing the jobs and services you're providing? I think it's always better to have a specialist than, trying to figure things out on your own and like potentially messing things up. So when you get an agency, if someone was to hire us, if you hire a full-time marketing director in-house, for one, they're not going to know how to do A through Z, everything needed for marketing. There's a couple different things they could probably help with, but then you're paying what, 60 grand minimum salary plus like benefits, healthcare, whatever. Whereas you could get an agency for maybe half that cost that has specialists that could actually do A through Z because there's a couple different people on the team.
Yeah. For me, the big one is the speed, right? So like we were talking about how things change all the time. There's new trends, things like that. And it's like, even as somebody that feels pretty confident about most of this stuff, right? Getting an agency that's more aware of the nuances and changes that occur over time is way more impactful than, we were just talking about YouTube. Imagine spending 8 hours just trying to figure out like what's going on with the simple, the area of service thing that you were talking about earlier, right? Like, I don't know anything about that. Most people don't, but that's why there's experts in certain spaces that focus really in on these like niche, fast moving parts of, a business that some of the more generalists might not understand.
For a business owner, I think you need to be like, let's say you offer a service. I think you need to be an expert on that service you offer, but then have a little bit of information, a little bit of knowledge about everything else. You don't need to be even close to an expert when it comes to marketing, but you need to maybe know enough to not get hoodwinked and like tricked by a marketing agency or an SEO company that says they're doing stuff when they're really not.
Yeah, I always think about it like the contractor, right? Like you have a contractor come out to give you a quote on your house, right? There's some contractors that, they'll just give you a quote, assume you don't know anything. And then there's other contractors where, they'll show you what's wrong. They'll demonstrate the value, right? And
Yeah.
a lot of times you can understand why they're charging what they're charging. And the reason why those second subset of contractors are so successful is because they actually inform, they assume that the customer knows something, right? And because of that, they're able to quote more efficiently. They're able to convey what their value proposition really is. I think a lot of marketing agencies are a lot of the same way, right? Like there's some marketing agencies where they just throw a price out there and they say, hey, black box, we're going to grow you, right?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
there's other marketing agencies, which you are one of them, right? That go out there and they explain, here's how we're going to grow. Here's our plan. Here's our process. And here's why the price is what the price is.
You ever seen or heard of the show Nathan for You on Comedy
Yes.
Central?
Well, I love Nathan.
So good. Have you seen the one where he has like a marketing promotion for an
Alcohol?
auto repair?
Yeah, I saw the auto repair one. Yeah.
Where the promotion is like guaranteed authentic, like trusted prices, because he pitches the repair shop owner on letting him use a polygraph machine whenever they provide quotes to clients.
Yeah.
To make sure he's not like making up some crazy price and that it's
He's like strapped to the polygraph machine. He's
Yeah.
like looking all around, like confused the whole time.
Yeah. He's like,
Yeah.
so is that a fair price? He's like, yeah.
Yeah, fair price.
So funny.
Yeah, but I mean that's that's a big one in this area is finding somebody you can trust and somebody that can give you good insights that can build upon your base level.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So I was wondering if there's two things that somebody should take away from the importance of local SEO. What would you say they are?
Well, the Google Business Profile is free to set up and use. That will attract new business guaranteed, and it's easy, it's free, and it brings in revenue. So definitely use that. The second thing is, thinking about content and how to use content in many ways to bring in organic free business as well. You could shoot one video and edit it for multiple platforms. You could put it on Google, you could put it on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, etc.
Yeah, those are the big ones. Take advantage of the free resources you have on hand, right?
Mhm.
There's big tech giants like Google. They want to sell you ads, but they also have these free, really powerful tools that, let's be honest, one, free is good, but two, if you end up becoming the next viral plumbing star, you might be able to make some ad revenue.
That's right. That's right.
So awesome. So Mac, how can the listeners find you and get in contact?
Well, I'm a Google guy, so you can Google my name, Mac Frederick, or you can Google the company name, Momentum Digital. Will pop right up. You'll see our profile with all of our reviews. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all that stuff. Just Mac Frederick, you'll find me. And yeah, that's about it.
Awesome. Well, it was really great having you. I urge everybody to take advantage of those free opportunities that are out there to grow and advertise their business. And if you want a little bit of help, reach out to Mac. Thank you guys for checking out this episode of Disruptive Minds.